Long days and pleasant nights, fellow travelers along the path of the beam. I am known in this realm as Jaime and Fuego, and welcome to the horror show and my weekly show entitled Hail to Stephen King. Damn Rizzle, guys, and this is an extra special episode for me because I'm basically going to be showing you guys a little bit of footage and kind of a montage of sorts that I put together about my pilgrimage, as I called it, to see Sai King. That's right, the guy who wrote all of these books that you see beside me that I have officially read all of. I just finished End of Watch. Cannot wait to talk about the Bill Hodges trilogy. Probably after they have the season finale of Mr. Mercedes, which is going to be this upcoming week on the AT&T Audience Network. It's actually really tough for a lot of people to get a hold of this network because it's a DirecTV exclusive, but one thing that I recommend that you do is there is a free 7-day trial of the DirecTV Now like service of sorts, which takes your stuff to, you know, like tablets and laptops and home computers and all that other fun stuff. So what my plan to do is I watched the first 2 episodes, and then since I don't, I pulled the plug, I just have streaming services and stuff like that, I'm going to sign up for the service like right after the season finale debuts, and then you just plug in your information, you jump on the website, and you can watch all of the episodes, and you know, I'm gonna binge them in a week, and I'm so excited. And then Marsha Parker and I can give a proper discussion about the first season of that show and the trilogy, so look forward to that, probably coming in the next couple weeks on Hail to Stephen King here. But lo and behold, the author of all of these books, which over the last nearly 8 years, I made it my journey to read all of them in published order because of the fact that so much of Sai King stuff connects, and it's been a journey. It's been an amazing one, but it was an amazing journey to go to the Chicago area for the very first time, and I flew in on September 28th, and I did some Ubering and got out to North Central University, or excuse me, North Central College, just to get it right, which is a small liberal arts college in Naperville, which is about like 30-something miles outside of that, like the main, I guess, like downtown Chicago, as you would consider it. And so I did it on the mad cheap. I stayed at an Airbnb with some super cool medical students. You know, shout out to Michael and Paulina. Yeah, those are some cool kids. And so I had such an amazing time, but damn did it go by so quickly. Flying out on the 28th, seeing Sai King on the 29th, and then flying back on the 30th. So it was kind of a late birthday present of sorts to myself, and an experience that I will never ever forget. But let's jump into the day. I'm arriving at the college, and I'm mere hours away from seeing Sai King, and I also got the opportunity to talk to some fellow fans that were waiting in line. So let's roll tape. Long days and pleasant nights, fellow travelers along the path of the beam. Y'all know me in this realm as Jaime and Fuego. Welcome to the horror show, where I have made the travel from Arizona all the way to the Illinois area to see El Rey, the King, as I so affectionately call him. As y'all can see behind me, people were supposed to start lining up at 5, and As dedicated as Stephen King fans are, they're rule breakers. They didn't listen, so they have already started a line here at 3:30. So I am about to join them and hopefully talk to a few lovers and give you guys some rad-ass coverage of this extremely exciting event called the Sleeping Beauties book tour that he is doing with his son, Owen King. So let's go see if we can chat with some of these fellow King fanatics. Well, welcome to Hail to Stephen King, miss. You are the first in line here at this signing event it's Naperville, Illinois, right? So we're like just outside of Chicago?
Yep.
Nice, nice. So how long have you been reading Stephen King for?
Since I was 13.
13, okay. So that's like what, you're 21 years old, so that's been like 8 years then, right?
Yeah, we won't talk about how it's 30.
What was the first one you read?
The Stand, which I'm reading right now.
Nice.
Whiting here. And the first time I read it, finished it, didn't want to be done, so I went back and reread it, and I did that 4 times in a row.
Now, which cut of The Stand is it? Because there was the original, and then there was the uncut, and then there was one where he tampered with things and made modern references and all that. So
it was the one where they made him shorten it.
Okay.
But it's got the best cover of all of them.
Oh,
it's
with the
got
fight
like
on the front.
crow and the Randolph flag face, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it's like a joust of sorts and stuff.
Yeah.
Nice. So is that a favorite of yours then, The Stand?
Oh yeah.
It's in top 3 for me, I mean.
I've read it probably 50 times in my lifetime.
Damn, impressive. So
really
what's the best post-accident King that you've read, in my opinion? Because some people think he changed his style after he got hurt and said he was going to retire from writing and everything. What's one that has stood out in his post-accident era?
Probably the trilogy.
Oh, the
with
Mercedes?
Mercedes Man and Finders Keepers and End of Watch.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed those. My husband over there is reading End of Watch for the first time right now.
Ah, sweet. Okay, I'm a big fan of Tommyknockers, Cell. I mean, he's even Dr. Sleep and Revival were badass too.
Yeah.
I thought
so. Yep.
The man's still firing on all cylinders.
Yeah. Oh, he's fantastic.
Have you started this new one that just came out that he's doing the book tour yet for? Sleeping Beauties.
I'm getting a free copy tonight. So
yeah.
I've been waiting.
I held off too.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, are you excited about another collaboration with his son? Did you read any of the stuff he did with Joe Hill, like In the Tall Grass, or?
No.
Okay.
No.
Nice.
I don't think I heard about that.
Yeah, it's a short story. It was like an ebook only, but
okay.
Yeah. Both of his sons write, so the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right?
Right. Well, I'm a teacher, and both my daughters are teachers, so same kind of thing.
There you go. Well, pass along the positivity,
That's
and thanks for giving us a brief word here, and I'll let you know where you can see this on the YouTube.
Great.
Yeah.
I want to. Thank you.
You're welcome. We're rolling with more fans here for Stephen King signing in the Chicago area with his son Owen, and look at that, man, that is just rad status. Now, are you guys local, or did you come from out of state like I did for this event?
From Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, okay, so not super far, right?
Right.
Awesome. So, since I see the Pennywise, is it your favorite of the King stories, or is it possibly something different?
Oh no, it's definitely it.
Definitely it. So then what was your thoughts on the adaptation?
It wasn't a terrible movie. I'll go with that much. It wasn't a terrible movie.
Is that all we're going to say then?
Yeah, but the original's always the best.
Yeah. So the original book or the original 90 Curry film?
Book and then the original movie after that, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, the Curry one has a special place in my heart for the bit with Bevy, for whatever reason, in the blood. Always scared me more than even the Georgie scene. I'm not really sure why. But
Stephen King books. When I was 10, I watched it and I ran out and read it and was hooked since then.
Nice. Any other favorites that you want to throw out? Usual suspects like Pet Sematary or The Stand, or something different?
Carrie's always a great read.
Ah.
Eyes of the Dragon's hers.
See, Eyes of the Dragon is one that I don't think gets enough credit, because that's where he started veering in fantasy. And, well, I mean, I guess he'd done The Talisman already before that, but there was some backlash to Eyes of the Dragon initially, because they're like, it's not scary, you know, blah, blah.
He was spreading his wings and trying something different, and I like it.
And you had Flag in it, which was awesome, and it's in the Dark Tower universe, you know, so... So what would be a favorite of yours then, miss? I mean, besides Eyes of the Dragon, that is the favorite then?
Yeah, that's my favorite, and I like the Green Mile.
Green Mile's good, the serialized one. Did you read it in its initial installments, or did you just like get the entirety all together?
I got the entirety.
Okay. Sweet. Any later books from the King that you guys really dig on? Anything like Dr. Sleep, the Shining sequel?
I really liked Under the Dome was fantastic. Dr. Sleep surprised me with how good it was. I was afraid that might not turn out, but that was pretty good. I enjoyed that.
It was different enough where I actually really appreciated it, and the way they connected it was kind of cool too. With no spoilers, but the connection with him and the girl. So
yes, that was fantastic. I was surprised at how good it was. So I was happy.
Excellent, dude. Are you excited for this collaboration with him and the son then?
Oh, heck yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
Very cool subject matter, right? The fact that, what if all the women started falling asleep when we men were left to our own devices to destroy each other?
We're a bunch of jackasses. We'll all die.
There'd be no balance.
I'd starve to death without her.
Well, at least you admit it. There you go. So more coverage here, y'all, from the signing that King is doing with his son in the Chicago area of Illinois, Naperville. I keep forgetting where the hell I am after making such a long journey to Arizona. Thanks for joining us, girl. I love the shirt.
Thanks.
Is that one of your personal favorites story-wise?
It is, and movies.
Awesome. And it's one that people often forget was actually, well, they just are the uninitiated. They didn't know it was a King story, right?
That and Green Mile, I think, are two of the biggest ones.
Well, Darabont adapted them splendidly, right?
Yes, definitely.
Any other adaptations you thought really captured the spirit of the book well?
You know, I'm a big fan of Shining, even though it wasn't,
King
as
hates
close.
it.
Yeah, I know. Even though he hates it, I enjoyed it just like on its own. I also thought it was enough near the book to where it could, be followed by people who had read it and people who hadn't. So
what about the miniseries that he scripted himself that felt like TV, right?
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that. Wasn't a big fan of it, the miniseries as well. So.
What about the movie then? Do you think it was more of an interpretation than an adaptation for me, is what I've been saying? But do you think it captured the spirit of the book a little better?
The new it? Yes, definitely. Yeah. I think it did. I think it really captured the camaraderie with the kids. I think that was pretty spot on for characters there.
Agree. So I see the Wheel of Ka on your little necklace there. Are you a big Dark Tower fan?
A big Dark Tower fan, big Idris fan.
So you liked that casting?
I did. I know that there was a lot of...
I was disappointed with that movie. But
were you?
Very much so.
Well, it wasn't, I don't think it was what we thought it was going to be. But I kind of took it on its own and let it be what it was. Complaining about it wasn't going to change anything.
True.
So I took it as it was, and I'm hoping for more, and I'm hoping for some TV series to come out of it as well.
That's what they keep saying, but I mean, with the fate of the film and how it performed so poorly, there's there's some skepticism there.
It made the money though.
Yeah.
It did.
Barely.
Right. And I do have to give a shout out. I am an admin on the Stephen King Constant Reader fan page. It's the largest fan page on Facebook.
Woo.
So we have 77,000+ members. Hi everybody.
Yeah.
And my name is Tanya. So if any of my people are here, let me know. Be glad to hang out and take some pictures and stuff.
Right on, Tanya. Well, gracias. Thanks for taking the moment here for the horror show and this special bit of my pilgrimage to see Sai King, as I've been calling it.
Definitely.
So, hell yeah. So I'm here with Jim, a fellow Arizona dude who made the journey all the way out to see Sai King. Have you seen him live before, sir?
Yeah, actually I saw him at the National Book Festival in DC last year.
Oh, wow. Excellent. This will be my first time, so I'm popping my proverbial cherry wheel of Ka, or whatever the hell you want to call it.
You're going to enjoy it. He's a very engaging speaker, great anecdotes.
Well, as a former teacher and stuff, I would hope that, he still knows how to, roll with it in a live setting in front of an audience and stuff.
Sure.
Nice. So what is your favorite King book? I always like to start off with that.
The first one that really introduced me to him was The Stand.
Another Stand person.
After reading that, I used to commute from Jersey to New York City, and on the train I would read a lot of books. Picked that up in a bookstore, read it, and then I went back through the entire canon.
Wow, so you've read all of Sai King stuff?
Yes.
As have I, yeah. I was just finishing End of Watch on the flight over here, and all the short stories, everything. It's been like an 8-year journey for me. And it was after I found out so much stuff connected. So do you like that interconnective tissue that he puts in, all that extra attention?
Yeah, I really do. And the greatest thing about King has always been his ability to develop characters. He does it as well as just about any author out there. And of course the horror element is really good, the supernatural. It's fascinating to read.
So do you appreciate when he veers from the supernatural and does something like a Misery or a I don't know, Dolores Claiborne, or even something in the fantasy realm like The Talisman or Eyes of the Dragon.
Yeah, or even go into the Dark Tower series,
which
and
I
all
love.
that. Yeah. No, I mean, I like it all, and yeah, I always appreciate it when an author doesn't just pigeonhole himself and will broaden, you know, the writing style that he uses and the subject matter.
Awesome. Well, Jim, you are as dedicated in Arizonan as me, but you got a decade or so on me, I'd say. So reading Sai King more so, and at least being able to appreciate him for a lengthy period of time, man. So appreciate the dedication, and thanks for taking a minute to talk with me, man.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
So I finally found my place in line, and I'm talking to from the looks of the shirt and this bag. Look at this bag, guys. That is just bad to the ass. She is obviously a big fan of Sai King, and turned out to be a neighbor in line. So you have a birthday story you want to tell me, right?
I do.
What is it?
Every year on his birthday, I sent him a Black Cat birthday card, and I didn't know the address, so I put Magnificent Author Stephen King, Bangor, Maine, and I went to the post office and found out the zip code. Because I just love him so much. I started reading Stephen King when I was 17, and that was when his first book came out.
That was when Carrie came out. Okay, okay.
And I just loved him ever since. I'm a huge, huge fan.
Nice, nice. So what are some of your other favorites then? I mean, you've got literally just about every book listed on the shirt from what I could see.
Oh, Salem's Lot is one of my favorites.
Salem's Lot's excellent.
Thinner's a good one.
The one where he had his pen name kind of, the curtains were pulled back on Mr. Bachman.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Nice.
And no one knew that for a long, long time.
Yeah. Had you seen any of his stuff like Roadwork or The Long Walk, any of those before everybody found out it was King?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
I have a book that's the Bachman book, so there's 4 stories in that one.
Sweet. So what of his newer stuff do you like?
Finders Keepers.
Yeah.
That's a really good series.
Part of that
I like
series,
that one.
Have you seen the TV show then of the Mr. Mercedes stuff?
Yes.
I
I'm
think
in the
it's
middle
good.
of watching it. It follows the book so well. I was so surprised that it followed the book so well.
Yeah, and I thought Brendan Gleeson's pretty great as Hodges. He's spot on.
Just his voice. He sounds like a crotchety old guy.
He does sound like the way King wrote Hodges.
Exactly. You could just, when you think of it, you could just picture him.
So is there a book that because you know they've adapted just about everything now, but there's a few that they haven't. Is there one that you'd like them to that you haven't seen yet?
Insomnia's been done, hasn't it?
No, it hasn't.
Oh no, then Insomnia. That's
Ralph Roberts. That was that one tied into the Dark Tower a little bit, which some people don't know. Yeah.
Sometimes they all sort of get a little bit of something in a lot of the books.
Yeah, he's really cool about tying so much together, which is one thing that made me want to read like everything he had because it would connect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And his detail is amazing. It's like you actually can picture, and it's almost like he's talking to you when he writes, instead of you're just reading an old boring book. It's
Nice.
like he's talking to you, telling you the story, because he goes into such good detail.
Yeah, some people think too much sometimes, but I sure don't. I like the bigger the better with Stephen King books for me.
I do too.
Nice, nice. Well, long-time constant readers like yourself, I mean, you've helped out forever, and I'm one of the newer ones, and I'm so proud to be part of our cool little fan club of sorts. You know, it's like a secret clique. So.
It really is.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. Yeah, I know.
compadres here. We're all hanging. So what are you guys saying?
That was the high point of the evening right there. It's all about health.
Oh my God.
And yeah, guys, at that point when King walked onto stage with Owen, his son, they didn't allow us to have any, any flash photography, any stuff videotaped, and so that's why you're seeing me jump back into this briefly. Man, it was such an amazing discussion because of the fact that King goes up there and him and Owen had such a warm interplay between the two of them. You could sense the genuine love. They're poking fun at each other. King's like saying, "Fuck you" to his son, and everybody's laughing. And so they each read excerpts from the book, which was interesting. So Owen read one, and then they did some back and forth discussion, which was cool. And then King read a passage, and his passage in particular I found very amusing because it was a scene where there's some pundits on TV, both males if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was just one in particular. I am about to start Sleeping Beauties this week, and so look forward to a review of that very, very soon. But it's this guy basically discounting and downplaying the extent of this crazy epidemic or pandemic or whatever the hell you want to call it that is happening across the world, where when these women across the planet are falling asleep, and this being like the main concept of the book, they basically go into a cocoon-like state, and like this shell of sorts almost like starts to form over their faces. And so if for whatever reason they are awakened in this particular state, it's almost like maybe Ramiro's The Crazies or like King's own book Cell, where the people aren't quite, these women I should say, aren't quite zombies, but if they're startled from their slumber, they just go batshit crazy violent. And there's discussion in Owen's passage about, this mother who goes to sleep and her child, her son, always takes a nap with her. And so when he tries to wake her up, like, she runs out of the house and she's like holding on to him and shaking him and being crazy. And everybody in the neighborhood sees it in this town where, a decent amount of the story takes place. And so, in the half with the news pundit downplaying it, this producer woman of sorts goes and like attacks him and starts like beating him over the head with the headset. And so you can tell just from the way that they so affectionately describe this book that they are in love with the concept, that they're really down with this over 700-page monster that they wrote together. And some interesting additional input that they gave is the fact that, as opposed to just, maybe this is what happened with Straub, or maybe this is how he did it with his son Joe Hill, or whatever it may have been. He also wrote the Faithful book about the Boston Red Sox with Stuart Onan, I believe, and he also co-wrote a fantastic short story with that guy called A Face in the Crowd. Unfortunately for King, his Boston Red Sox are not doing very well right now in the playoffs, and by the time you guys see this, who knows, they might be on the brink of elimination. But long story short, King has written with people before, and he and Owen almost implied that they, in those earlier instances, especially probably with Straub, it's like you would read certain passages of the book and you could tell, oh, this was written by King, this was written by Straub, this was whatever. But they said that they would essentially write portions and then send it to each other, and they would rewrite each other. And then even more interestingly, during their discussion, Owen mentioned that they would, when they'd be like, okay, you're going to write this part of this chapter when this beat happens, and then I'm going to write this portion of this chapter when this beat happens. But they would specifically leave like certain chunks of the scene, so to speak, blank. So that like he writes one part and then leaves an empty chunk that when he sends it over, it would be completely originally riffed upon, and then he would send it back and they would rewrite each other. And so they were hoping that with that sort of back and forth collaboration from this idea that actually Owen came up with and sent it over to his dad. And you know, the old joke about Stephen King is where, and they even said this during the discussion, that they're like, yeah, I'll be at a Red Sox game with my dad, and we just go in to, you know, take a piss, and my dad's at the urinal, and he's there, and some guy just walks right up to him, and he's like, Steve, I got the best idea for a story, man. You gotta listen to me here. And so he's obviously gonna give a little bit more credence to one of his kids coming forward with an idea. But right when Owen gave him the suggestion for Sleeping Beauties, King is like, well, I want to write it with you. And Owen's like, in his own words on stage, fuck no, I don't want to write with you, Dad. You know, I've got my own thing going, and you know, Owen has done everything from sci-fi to humor to like Americana type novels and stuff. And so unlike Joe Hill, who was deliberately wanting to go into horror, and so he wanted to succeed on his own merits and not have people compare his work to his father's and whatnot, going under not so much a pen name, but at least a name where people wouldn't initially you know, recognize him, because his full name is Joseph Hillstrom King, if I'm remembering the middle name correctly. So, you know, just Joe Hill, it's essentially his name, but just shortened down, and so it's not quite a pen name, but he's not using his dad's last name, which would immediately create the comparison and stuff. And so Owen has done his own thing as far as trying to branch off from the topics his father tackles. And so, yeah, it was just interesting how Steve had to convince Owen to actually be on board with this idea of writing. And so it was Owen who was like, well, we're going to rewrite each other, and we'll send it back and forth, and hopefully eventually we'll create a third voice, almost like where you have like some of my favorite bands, Alice in Chains, Pink Floyd, Bad Religion, whatnot. When there's multiple voices singing together, they create a third voice. And so that's, hey, it's something that I push to implement in my band Chiron constantly, especially with, you know, some of the clean parts and choruses. So I thought that was an interesting idea. And so after they both got done reading passages and then discussing them back and forth, they essentially started asking each other questions, and it was just, you know, kind of random questions about, you know, family, about friends, about inspiration. But the funniest thing for me, and the one that sticks out to me the most, was where Owen breaks out a book, and the book is, it's like a Stephen King trivia book. And I talked about this during the Hail to Stephen King live stream, where Cecil kind of interviewed me about the process. And Owen starts like asking his dad trivia questions, because on every tour stop he's been choosing a different book, and then also different bits of just random personal trivia about Steve. And so with over 4 decades of just a majestic and iconic career behind him, you can bet at 70 years old now, because King just turned 70 last month, Feliz cumpleaños, happy belated to my favorite author. He's born the day after me, which is pretty dope status, at least in my opinion. Maybe it's not that important, but I still think it's cool. But he ended up at least at the Chicago area, the Naperville tour stop at this North Central College, when we were in this, as you guys saw, this enormous auditorium, and it ended up being the largest stop on the tour. There was like 3,000 people there. They like put us in, it wasn't even an auditorium, they like put us in the gym and just set up a bunch of chairs in the gym, and then makeshift stage. And I mean, you guys saw when King came out, and just saw when I gave you the full view of the crowd, how cool it was. And it was also so cool, just the camaraderie amongst all of us, not just when I was you know, interviewing people in line and doing kind of like a heavy metal parking lot, but for Stephen King fans. That's the way I kind of tried to approach it. But it was just fun making new friends, talking to fellow devotees and people who are just as into this as you. Now granted, there's a lot of newer people, like most of the younger fans that I interacted with, and I didn't really interview any super young fans, because I wanted that real hardcore perspective kind of that I embody. And most of the hardcore King fans are older. They've been with this guy for decades and decades and decades, as you saw from the people that I spoke to. And so in this ginormous auditorium, and the energy is fierce, and King is joking how it feels like a rock concert where everybody's cheering for every response. I mean, yeah, the questions between the two of them, and the trivia especially, though, with Owen grilling his father, was just priceless. And of course, King had to get into politics a little bit, which a few people that I was kind of chatting with as I was making my way through the line and whatnot, and just waiting to get inside the stinking place. As you saw the size of that line. Like, I was so blessed that if I had basically got in line right when I arrived and showed you guys the initial line, I would have had, well, who knows how much better my spot would have been. I was 7th row, I was dead center, but there's such a sea of people that even formed behind me, and they told us to start lining up, like I said, at 5:30 in the email for, respect of the students and whatnot. People were there since like 10 a.m., the first woman that I talked to. So, I mean, it shows the extent of the devotion, obviously, and just how cool the entire experience was. It's my first time seeing Sai King. Who knows if I ever will again. When I'm chatting with people who are like, yeah, I saw him on the Duma King tour, I saw him and they're just going off and, saying all these different times they've seen him, and I'm just like, I hate you guys, I'm so jealous. And yet, what an experience, man, and so, it was truly, truly a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Thank you all for coming. Have a great evening. And let's just give another scream of applause on our way out. You have your voucher. There we are. Thank you all for coming. I want to explain what happens next. If you head out this way at a leisurely pace, we're going to do our very best to get everybody out of here as soon as we can. Your white voucher, you need to hand that to our staff. We will get you your copy of the book.
How was it, everybody? What'd you think?
Oh, best hour of my life. Amazing. I cried. Awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah. Good stuff.
It was amazing.
Yes. Yeah, bam. What'd you think, man?
Real good time.
Nice time.
Funny stuff.
Excellent.
I was just glad it wasn't the sobby kind.
Good stuff.
Ugly cry.
Very good stuff.
Yes, this was your first time seeing him too,
Yes.
Right? Nice.
Bucket list check off.
Yes.
And yet I thought he was hilarious up there on stage.
He's very real. He's very down to earth. There was a lot of cussing, which I loved. I thought it was great.
It was definitely not PG-13.
He's very approachable, I think. Definitely.
It's definitely Stephen King.
Thoughts, Miss?
I loved him.
Have you seen King before?
No, my first time.
Same here.
Yes.
Wonderful.
She's the fan.
She's the fan. I'm at a loss for words.
I'm trying to find mine right now. Seriously, it's a lot to take in. Wow. Indeed. So, and now we have all these people trying to make their escape from this massive place, y'all. So, I can't wait to give some proper feedback for the horror show. But man, what a blast! Hail to Stephen King, indeed.
And I think our reactions, that you just saw there at the end, when I was talking to some of the people seated next to me, that really just embodied it perfectly. Just the jovial, just the emotional high that all of us were on. I was on a mass one. I was out of footage as well. So there's only so much you can do when you're just kind of like looking at the aftermath of everything. But geez Louise, did I have an incredible time. The fan questions were great, although I gotta say the best fan question that I've seen so far was secretly videotaped by somebody at the Toronto stop, and that's where when they asked, is there any chance, Steve, that there could be just one more before your career ends? Dark Tower story, just one more, maybe Jericho Hill, possibly, please. And you know what King said? He said yes. Rejoice, rejoice for Stephen King. Yes, boy, I hope that happens soon. Fingers firmly crossed. Who the hell knows? Time is short, but I hope we have at least another, 15, 20, who knows? Let the man live to 100, dude, and hopefully he's still super sharp, and he's still so sharp at his age. I mean, just the banter, once again, between him and his son, it was witty, it was funny, and the guy is still sharp as a tack, and that's why he can still keep creating such great stuff, and it was a great experience. It was one that I will never forget, and I'm glad that I was able to share a little bit of it with you guys, my Hail to Stephen King supporters. And I mean, I don't even want to call you fans because we're all on the same level of fandom. We're all fans of Stephen King and his amazing work, and so for that reason, I humbly thank you, extend a grande gracias, Thankee Sai, for everybody who tuned in to this special edition of Hail to Stephen King. I had such an amazing time in Chicago, even walking around the city and, seeing the Jordan statue and what a cool airport too. O'Hare is dope with all the flags and stuff when you're walking through that particular tunnel, and I got my deep dish pizza, so I was happy. I mean, all in all, a life-changing pilgrimage to see El Rey, to see the King. So once again, a grande gracias to you folks. And if anybody was wondering what this shirt here is all about, The Haunted is an amazing Swedish death metal band that is super spooktacular, and I encourage all of you to check them out. Strength in Numbers, their new record. Woohoo, so good. Also an older one called One Kill Wonder, Revolver. Damn, so good. I love them. So until next time, I have been Jaime and Fuego. You can find me on all social media sectors, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook predominantly. After the Halloween season is finished, look forward to new Infuegotainment content coming on my solo channel. So that is going to be a ton of fun. It's going to be a brand new channel, and I'm so stoked for that relaunch after we get out of the spooktacular season. I've got lots of new tales from the Crypt episodes that are coming daily. I reviewed all 31 episodes, or excuse me, all 93 episodes in 31 days, including also the 3 films 2 years ago on Infuegotainment, and they are migrating over. So if you guys like Tales from the Crypt, please check out those videos as well. Check out all of our content here on The Horror Show. We are going to be relentless with it here in the month of October. We've still got the 8 days of Halloween, I think Cecil is calling it, retro reviews of all the Saw films leading up to Jigsaw, so that's another big thing to mention. And another announcement, you heard it here first in the comments on Hail to Stephen King over this year almost of doing this program that has brought me just so much joy in connecting with fellow King fanatics, fellow constant readers, CRs, as a particular secret Facebook group. That's another thing I gotta say. The networking that I did at this particular event was just mind-blowing. It was crazy, and it just showed how, I mean, how wonderful it is to meet up with people and make friends at an event like this. And I'm keeping in touch on Facebook with a lot of them, and that, Twitter, various social media sites and stuff. So please, if you like this program, like it, share it, subscribe it, with the hashtag Hail to Stephen King. Let's have palaver with more and more King fanatics, more CRs, and let's just let this community grow and have a lot of fun and cool discussion amongst ourselves. And so the announcement I'm making is that lots of people have commented about Tommyknockers. Yeah, and guess what? On November 10th, the Tommyknockers turns 30. That's right, Dirty 30, for one that some people aren't necessarily the biggest fans of. It's not one of my favorite books, but for whatever reason, it's one that people ask me about all the time, and they constantly inquire my thoughts about it. When I first read it, I thought it was pretty good. I'm a big sci-fi fan, but I didn't necessarily think that the melding worked that well, but perhaps that was because of the fact that the stank of the miniseries, that when I watched it as a kid, it scared the crap out of me. The Tommyknockers knocking at your door. When I was like 10, that shit was super scary, but I rewatched it, a few years ago when I picked up a DVD copy, and I guess Bobby, the chick who plays her, and Schmitz and stuff, I mean, they're okay, but just a lot of it is, it's very low-budget TV, something that people accuse The Stand of at times, The Langoliers, just a lot of those 90s King miniseries, It being another one. And so I'm going to revisit and reread the book after Sleeping Beauties, so you guys can look forward to a retro review of the Tommyknockers novel for its 30th anniversary and a comparison of that to the miniseries, beat by beat changes, stuff they actually did do well, stuff that was omitted. Also, a little bit of history about the fact that there was a portion of that story that originally appeared in this, and it was called Revelations of Becca Paulson. And so there's going to be just a lot of cool Tommyknockers history that I'm looking forward to discussing. And so, yeah, in the month of November, for Hail to Stephen King, look forward to that. So once again, I've been Jaime and Fuego. You constant readers have been awesome. And so until the Wheel of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego, sin amigos. I am hopeful that it is sooner rather than later. And until then, stay scared and read Sleeping Beauties. It's also going to be a TV series, apparently.